Hi, everybody. We are going to do a video review of the lesson you learned about working with blades and safety, building safety, working with foam core, things like that. So let's get started. First of all, be aware that I'm working at my desk. Obviously, there's my keyboard, and you can actually see my monitor here where I can see what I look like, or at least my hands, on camera. So I'm telling you that because I'm working in a very small, confined area. You'll be more spread out than I am. I'm also working with some pretty poor lighting, but we'll figure that out as we go. We'll master that as we do it. All right. Right here we have a pre-built. This is what we're going to make, a little pre-built uh, corner, let's call it, out of foam core with pins in it. This is our piece of scrap paper, which is going to be used to secure our blade. So here is an X-Acto knife. Let me go ahead and set that up like that. Here we have a rabbet cutter. That's for the end of the video, and also pins for the end of the video. I've got several writing utensils, pencil, pen, and Sharpie. Well, we'll probably use the Sharpie because of the poor lighting. I've got my ruler right here for making nice straight lines. And probably the most important piece of safety equipment is the safety cutter. We'll be talking about that also. I think that's everything. Let's get started and we'll see how things unravel here. First thing is, let's go ahead and put our blade together. So you'll always get the handle and the blade separately, and you'll put that together at the beginning of when you start to work. So let's start out by making sure that this is loose. Now, we're holding the blade by the non-sharp side of the blade so that we don't cut ourselves. We're being aware that the tip is very sharp, and this is a razor. So it is extremely sharp. You need to be super careful with this. I'm going to go ahead and insert it. You can see there's a little slot there. And I know most of you have used X-Acto knives before, but just to be safe, we might as well talk about it. Right here, this collet, that tightens, and then you'll see that the blade spins. If the blade doesn't spin, you might have to hold it again on that non-sharp part. And once you feel it snug up a little bit, you can snug it up the rest of the way. You don't have to kill it. Doesn't have to be clamped down. Just firm. All right. So we're going to use this in a minute, but before we do, we're going to put it down. Now I'm going to secure the blade. Notice I have a long piece of scrap foam core because if it's too short and you put it through, it could poke through the other side like that, and it could cut your finger. So we're going to put it here, and again, see how if I put it here, it's not going to poke me. My fingers are way over here. All right, so we have a secured blade. I could put this down. There's no danger of it rolling off the table and hitting someone in the foot and cutting them. There's no danger of someone accidentally putting their hand down near a blade and cutting themselves, reaching over it. We always secure a blade. Super important. If you see someone else put a blade down and they did not secure it, feel free to let them know that they did not secure their blade. All right. With that, let's get a piece of foam core. Normally I do a full sheet, but again, I'm working in a very confined area, so I pre-cut this out. Let's go ahead and mark it. So here's where the regular ruler comes in. You never, ever cut with this ruler unless I give specific instruction or you let me do it, because I have a lot of experience and I'm safer at doing this. And I still cut myself occasionally. So got to be aware of that. All right, let's go ahead and make a line. Normally, I would do this with a pencil. I want you guys to use a pencil, but it's not going to show up because of the poor lighting. So I'm doing it with the Sharpie right now. The reason you don't want to use a Sharpie is because it leaves a mark when you're finished, thus making your drawing not as palatable. I mean your model. All right, I'm going to take the cover off, so the blade is now not secure. Let's put this over to the side, the ruler. And now let's go ahead and grab the safety cutter. Just making some room here for the safety cutter in the area I'm working with, so I'm a little bit confined, as mentioned before. All right, so I'm lining this up, and because it's a slender piece, the problem I'm having is I've got this rocking motion. That could easily be resolved by just putting a scrap underneath the safety cutter. So let me move the blade secure out of the way. I'll put that in, and now again, now you'll see that it doesn't really rock. It's much more firm. Remember that foam core is actually made up of three parts. There's the paper on the outside, you've got the foam in the middle, and then paper on the bottom. So for beginners, I always tell you to make 3 cuts. 1 cut for the paper, 1 cut for the foam, 1 cut for the other paper. Look at how I'm holding this. I'm not holding it like this. I'm not holding it like this. I'm holding it like this. This is the safest, most secure way to cut. You're also going to get your best cuts doing it this way, by the way. With that in mind, let's talk about this. Notice that my palm is resting and I'm sliding my arm back and forth. I'm not wiggling my fingers. I'm going to go ahead and make a cut right now. So I'm before the material. By the way, also I'm not leaning this way. I'm not leaning this way. I'm square against the material. And we're going to go ahead and cut through that first paper. I'm sliding my whole arm to do it. Let's make the second cut right through the foam. And again, I'm before the material, cutting all the way through, and I'm following through completely. And then the third cut is just to make sure you're right through that paper. Now, it looks like my blade is so sharp I did it in 2, but I recommend you do it in 3. All right. So now that piece is cut. Let's take that, put it to the side, put in the safety cutter to the side. I'm going to go ahead and secure my blade. Let's make another cut. Before I do that, let's mark it first. Eventually, you may not need to mark, but for beginners, you need to mark because the last thing you need to focus on is where am I putting my straight edge, which in your case is the safety cutter. This way, there's no questions. You have it all marked off. You're ready to go. All right, I'm going to take my blade out of the safety, and let's do it again. So sliding my entire arm back towards me. Oh, by the way, I'm standing right now. You don't sit when you cut. That adds a lot of danger for many reasons, but mostly you also get a more precise cut when you're standing. All right, so again, once through the paper, once through the foam core, and once through the paper again. I'm securing my blade. And there you have it. So we have these 2 pieces we cut. I'll take this, put it to the side for now. Now, in another lesson, you'll learn how to use this rabbet cutter. It's a double pass system. I'm not going to get into it because it'll make the video longer, and this is about safety and cutting. But what it does is it's going to allow you to have these pieces fit together nice and tight. So I like to do a pin in the center, and I like to put a pin on the side. This is another thing. Make sure you know where your fingers are on your other hand, because if the pin comes through and your fingers are in the way, you can stab yourself with a pin. And there you have a nice little corner that was made. All right, there's plenty more to talk about, but for now I think that's good because it's going to get you started. I'll end the video here, and we'll talk about more